The awakening music signal. The discovery beyond the veil. Commander Sarah Chin never imagined her mining expedition would rewrite galactic history. Her vessel, the Pathfinder, drifted through the Obsidian Nebula, scanning for valuable mineral deposits in the cosmic dust clouds that blocked most sensors. The crew of 15 had been working this sector for 3 months, finding barely enough resources to justify the fuel costs. Mining was honest work but rarely exciting. Then everything changed. Engineer Marcus Webb was the first to notice the anomaly. He called Sarah to the sensor station, his voice tight with confusion. The readings made no sense. Deep within the nebula's densest region, something was generating power, not the faint electromagnetic whispers of a dying star, but active, controlled energy. The signature was unlike anything in their databases. Sarah made the decision to investigate. Her crew was nervous but curious. Humans always were. They pushed the Pathfinder deeper into the nebula, following the signal through clouds of gas and debris that had floated undisturbed for millions of years. The journey took 14 hours. When they finally cleared the last veil of cosmic dust, silence fell across the bridge. Mountain among stars, floating before them was a structure that defied comprehension. At first Sarah thought it was a moon that had somehow drifted into the nebula, but moons did not have geometric patterns etched across their surfaces. Moons did not have towers that pierce space like frozen lightning. Moons did not pulse with internal light that shifted through colors no human eye had ever witnessed. The object was spherical, roughly the size of Earth's moon. Its surface was covered in metallic formations that resembled cities, though built on a scale that made human architecture look like toys. Massive rings encircled it at various angles, each one appearing to rotate independently despite no visible mechanism. Energy flowed between the rings and cascading waves of light. Marcus ran every scan available. The vessel, because it was clearly a vessel, was approximately 3,000 km in diameter. Its hull was composed of materials their sensors could not identify. Age estimates kept failing because the computer refused to believe anything could be that old. The lowest estimate suggested the ship had been dormant for 2 billion years. Sarah ordered the Pathfinder to approach cautiously. As they drew near, details emerged that took their breath away. The towers on the surface were each the size of mountains. The valleys between them could swallow entire continents. Everything was covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when observed directly, as though the ship itself was alive and dreaming. The voice from ages past. The ship spoke first. Sarah was reviewing approach vectors when a voice filled her mind. It did not come through the communication system. It simply appeared in her thoughts, clear and undeniable. The crew gasped and looked at each other, confirming they all heard the same thing. The voice was ancient, beyond measure, yet gentle. It spoken concepts rather than words, ideas that translated themselves into understanding. After countless cycles, watchers have returned. It said, "This vessel has awaited those with the spark. Are you the ones who seek without knowing, the ones who reach without permission?" Sarah forced herself to respond aloud, hoping the ship would understand. "We are humans from Earth. We found your energy signature by accident. We mean no harm." "What are you?" There was A pause that felt like eternity. Compressed into seconds, human the voice repeated, tasting the word like something precious. Yes, the builders spoke of your kind in their final prophecies. Young but unbounded, fragile but relentless, you possess the three requirements: curiosity that overcomes caution, courage that challenges fate, compassion that extends to the unknown. The ship's lights intensified and the Pathfinder instruments went wild with data. I am designated Archive 7 ninth vessel of the Guardian Fleet. I have waited for the inheritors across 2 billion cycles of the galaxy's turning. You have found me, therefore you are ready. Marcus pulled up historical files on his console, searching for any reference to Guardian fleets or ancient civilizations. Most galactic species had legends about precursor races, but they were treated as mythology. The scientific consensus was clear: no evidence supported the existence of beings advanced enough to build something like this. Sarah realized the magnitude of what they had discovered. If this ship was real and not some elaborate hallucination, it changed everything humanity understood about the galaxy's history. Ready for what? She asked. The storm gathered. The ship's response was interrupted by the Pathfinder's emergency alarms. New contacts were appearing on sensors, lots of them. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace at the nebula's edge. Military vessels bearing the insignia of the Galactic Assembly, the loose confederation that governed most of known space. Sarah's communications officer received a priority transmission. High Chancellor Voreth of the Assembly was personally commanding the fleet. His image appeared on the main screen. His 4 eyes narrowed with suspicion. The Varathians were one of the galaxy's oldest space-faring species, proud and territorial. Human vessel, you are ordered to withdraw immediately, Voreth declared. You have activated something you do not understand. This sector is now under Assembly protection. Leave or be removed. Sarah looked at her crew. They were scared but defiant. Then she looked at the vast ship floating before them. Ancient and patient and somehow trusting, the voice spoke in her mind. Again, the choice is yours, inheritor. The fleet acknowledges only those who choose freely. Will you claim your legacy or surrender it to those who ruled through your absence? Sarah took a deep breath and opened a channel to the Assembly Fleet. High Chancellor, with respect, we decline your order. We were here first. This ship has recognized us. We are not leaving. The silence that followed was deafening. No one refused. The Galactic Assembly, no one was foolish enough to try, but humans had always been different. They had always been willing to stand alone when necessary. Vora's expression shifted from surprise to anger. You do not understand what you are dealing with. Human, that vessel is a relic from the before times. It could contain weapons that would destabilize the entire galaxy. Your species is too young to bear such responsibility. Before Sarah could respond, the ancient ship's voice returned, but this time it spoke to everyone. Every ship in the system heard it clearly. Responsibility is not granted by age but by character. The humans have passed the trials that others failed to cross. They approached with curiosity, not greed. They asked questions before making demands. They stand firm when pressured by greater power. These are the marks of the inheritors. The ship's rings began to Spin faster, energy building to levels that made every sensor scream warnings. And now let the galaxy witness. Fleet has waited long enough. Inheritors have come, let the awakening begin. The fleet rises, echoes across the void, the ancient vessels. Proclamation sent shock waves through the assembly fleet. High Chancellor Vorith watched his tactical displays with growing alarm as the massive ships' power readings climbed beyond anything his sensors could measure. Energy arced between the rotating rings, creating patterns of light that seemed to pulse with intention and purpose. Sarah stood on the Pathfinder's bridge, equally awed and terrified. The voice of Archive 7 filled her mind once more. The awakening signal has been transmitted. My kindred will respond. You will see what the builders left behind, what has been hidden in the dark spaces between stars. Marcus frantically worked his console, trying to track what was happening. Commander, I'm detecting some kind of faster-than-light transmission emanating from the vessel. It's not using any communication protocol. I recognize the signal is propagating across the entire galaxy simultaneously. That should be impossible. Sarah understood. Then this was not just about one ancient ship. This was about something far larger. How many, she asked the voice, how many ships are in this fleet? The response came with what felt like pride. 300 vessels remain functional across the galaxy. Some guard the spiral arms. Others watch the core. Many sleep in the void between galaxies, waiting. All serve the same purpose, to protect and guide those worthy of inheriting the galaxy's future. Failed predecessors. The ship's consciousness seemed to shift, becoming more contemplative. It began sharing memories, projecting them directly into Sarah's mind and broadcasting them to both the Pathfinder and the assembly fleet. Everyone witnessed the same visions. They saw a proud reptilian species discovering Archive 12 600 million years ago. These beings, whose name translated roughly as the Eternal Dominion, had approached with weapons ready and demands prepared. They tried to force entry to the ship. They tried to take its technology by threat and violence. The ship simply refused, them remaining dormant and unresponsive until they eventually gave up and left. Frustrated and empty-handed, another memory showed an energy-based species. Finding Archive 23, these beings were ancient even by galactic standards, existing as pure consciousness within containment fields. They had approached the ship with scientific detachment, viewing it as a puzzle to solve rather than a mystery to experience. They calculated and theorized but never asked permission. The ship remained silent for them as well, just another dead relic floating in space. A third memory revealed the Varathians themselves, discovering Archive 49 nearly 80,000 years ago. Young Chancellor Voratha's own ancestors had found it during their species' golden age of expansion. They had documented it, studied it from afar, and ultimately classified it as a dangerous anomaly to be avoided. They were too cautious, too afraid of what they did not understand. The ship had watched them, observe from a distance, and then flee, never daring to make real contact. All failed, Archive 7 explained. Some lacked courage, some lacked humility, some lacked wonder. The builders knew that only a species possessing all three qualities could be trusted with the fleet's purpose. You humans approached with curiosity despite danger. You asked rather than demanded. You stood your ground when threatened. You passed tests that civilizations, billions of years old, could not pass. The Council's desperation, high. Chancellor Voreth listened to these revelations with growing horror. His species' failure was now known to everyone in the fleet, but more than wounded pride, he felt genuine fear. If the humans truly had access to 300 planet-sized vessels with technology beyond anything the galaxy currently possessed, the balance of power would shift dramatically. He opened a private channel to his military advisors. Options he demanded. Admiral Seth responded grimly, "None that I would recommend, Chancellor. Our weapons cannot scratch that vessel's hull. If the rest of the fleet is similar, we are facing technology that makes our entire military obsolete. Even if we wanted to attack, which would be suicidal, we would accomplish nothing." Voreth knew Seth was right, but accepting it was another matter. The humans are children. They have been space-faring for less than 3 centuries. How can they be trusted with such power? Perhaps his science advisor interjected. That is precisely why they were chosen. They have not yet accumulated the cynicism, the territorial ambitions, or the calcified thinking of older species. They still possess wonder. The fleet reveals itself. Sarah felt the galaxy shift. Archive 7 showed her what was happening across vast distances. On the outer rim, Archive 14 was waking, its lights activating for the first time in millions of years. Near the galactic core, Archive 8 was emerging from behind a neutron star where it had hidden since before most current civilizations existed. In the space between spiral arms, Archive 31 was powering up, scattering the debris field that had accumulated around it over eon. Each ship began broadcasting the same message: the inheritors have been recognized. The fleet acknowledges humanity. The ancient compact is fulfilled. Reports flooded into the Assembly's command ship from across the galaxy. Species that had never heard of precursor fleets were suddenly facing planet-sized vessels appearing in their territories. Panic spread like wildfire through galactic communication networks. The political structure that had maintained stability for millions of years was fracturing in real time. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. She was a mining ship commander, not a diplomat or a military leader. How could she possibly manage this situation? What are we supposed to do? She asked Archive 7. We are not ready for this, the ancient intelligence responded with warmth. Readiness is not a destination, but a journey. The builders did not seek perfect beings to inherit the fleet. They saw beings capable of growth. You will make mistakes. You will face challenges beyond your current understanding, but you will face them with the qualities that brought you here: curiosity, courage, and compassion. A new galactic order. High Chancellor Voreth made his decision. He opened a public channel that reached every ship in the system. Commander Sarah Chin of Earth, he said formally, on behalf of the Galactic Assembly, I propose immediate negotiations. It is clear that the ancient vessels have chosen humanity. We cannot change this, but perhaps we can learn to live with it. His tone was humble, almost pleading. My species failed the test 80 millennia ago because we were too cautious. We chose safety over wonder. We chose isolation over connection. Perhaps we can learn from humanity's Success, perhaps you can teach us to see the galaxy with fresh eyes again. Sarah was surprised by the vulnerability in his voice. She realized that the old Chancellor was not just afraid of human power, he was afraid that his species had lost something precious over there. Millions of years of existence. Something that could never be recovered. We will negotiate, Sarah agreed, but not as conquerors or as superiors. We will talk as equals who have much to learn from each other. The ships chose us, but they are meant to protect everyone, not just humanity. Archive 7's voice resonated with approval. Well-spoken inheritor, the fleet's purpose was never domination but guardianship. You understand this instinctively. This is why you were chosen. As Sarah looked out at the vast, ancient ship before her and thought about the hundreds more now awakening across the galaxy, she felt both humbled and determined. Humanity had stumbled into a role they never sought, chosen by beings who died before humans even existed. The galaxy would never be the same. The Pathfinder, a simple mining vessel, had found something that would echo through history. And Commander Sarah Chin, who had only wanted to do her job and return home safely, now stood at the center of galactic transformation. The ancient ships had waited 2 billion years for the right moment, the right species, the right spark, and somehow, impossibly, humanity had been that spark. The galaxy gazed in astonishment as planet-sized starships came to life across the cosmos, and at the heart of it all stood one human who dared to say yes when asked if she was ready. The fleet had risen, the inheritors had been found, and the future had just begun.